And now to something completely else, and I can give you a short service information here that after this presentation there will be a pause, so please stay tuned. Thanks, Ali, for inviting and for letting us share our products here. I've chosen not to present any projects, which is perhaps a little risky, but I've chosen to present an in-house research project that we are doing, and which is a part of the agenda that we are focused on right now, which is about reuse and repurposing waste. But first, a few slides about who we are and why we have taken this position, how we have come to this right now. We have actually people who are friendly towards us. They tell us that we have been sustainable ever since our starts from almost 50 years ago, and that I think is true in at least if we stick to the social aspects of sustainability. We have always been engaged in participative solutions, and we have always celebrated the aesthetics of organic growth. And I think we can say we have set a massive fingerprint on the Danish low-dense typologies, which is still a current relevant development typology. And then we were very early adopters of low-energy solutions back in the early 90s. Sorry if I'm struggling a little with the English language sometimes, but we have from the beginning of we have practiced integrated design and have had a very closely collaboration with engineers, especially HVAC engineers, about ventilation and daylight and energy. And another really important, can I get back? Another really important part of our work is affordable homes. We are almost only doing residential projects, and most of them are really low cost. So it's both low cost and low energy at the same time. So affordability, if you can say that's a part of a social, sustainable agenda, that's definitely a part of our key competences. And as a part of this, prefabrication and industrialized architecture has become a very, very important issue. And I think next time I'll be here, I'll talk about prefabrication and affordable architecture and social housing. But this time it's more important to notice that these prefabricated houses actually represent the most sustainable that we are capable of doing, because it's based on a wooden frame, and it is prefabricated, very short construction time, and they are very well insulated. It's passive house standards, and for instance, the example to the left, it's cladded with slate, which lasts for 120 years. So it's durable, and it doesn't use much energy, and furthermore, it can be disassembled again, and that's important. We also use more and more wooden structures as CLT structures as alternative to concrete. And sometimes we are lucky to be able to do some extreme projects like the seaweed house, which has a negative carbon footprint, which means that you can actually live in this house for 40 years without setting any carbon footprints at all. And then it looks funny too. But then we are the next steps we are about to take is about preserving resources, and as a part of this, adaptability has been a very important strategy. We have not really managed to build any projects which takes their starting point in this. But we're trying to push that agenda in each of every project that we are doing, and the same goes for design for disassembly. which is a really important part of the strategy I'm going to talk about in a minute. And reuse. This is the image to the right is from a renovation project, a really big innovation project with more than 1,000 residential units, and where we had to discard of 80,000 square meters of really high quality parquet floors, and when we simply refused to do it, we said we must find some other solutions, and we faced so many obstacles and so many regulations, requirements that made it almost impossible, and we're still not sure if we will succeed or not. But that actually made us think that we should dive deeper into this problem, and that's why I'm going to present the repurposing project in a minute. When we add all these insights together, we can form a kind of set of rules or a strategy that I would like to call the Vandkunstens ABCD plan, which is a resource preservation hierarchy where you always, as an architect, has a plan A, which is a cultural strategy, and that means we should always, as architects, we should do our utmost and use the very best of our skills to obtain appreciation, and with the ultimate goal to make a listed building a UNESCO heritage. But that doesn't work every time. So it's important to have a plan B, and the plan B is a functional strategy where you compose the building spatially in such a way that it can be converted into other purposes when new needs arrives. And then you get some robustness. But sometimes that's not enough. Sometimes it has to be demolished anyway, and that's why you need to have a plan C, which is a technical strategy. That means you aim at being able to disassemble the house again in order to reuse its components. So you can say the house is only it's a temporary storage of building materials and components. And the interesting thing with this plan B and the plan C is that it can feed back into the plan A. So you can use the technical, the assembly details and the spatial composition. You can use them to strengthen the identity and to gain some social values, which protects the building on the cultural level. And then there's the quite sad but realistic plan D, which is a chemical strategy. It's very much similar to the Cradle to Cradle brand, but it's very much what is going on in Scandinavia right now. This is what we have obtained already. Everything is, as Anne said before, everything is separated, and it's reused in some ways, but on very low levels. It's fine. It's really definitely an achievement, but we can do it better, and that's what the project I'm going to show you is about. We call it the Nordic Built Component Reuse Project because it's a part of a common Nordic governmental program, and we've got some funding for this, and we try to make new products. And we are doing the research in one-to-one as mock-ups, and when we are trying to make new products and to try to investigate in all the processes which are part of the construction. And that includes salvaging and rehabilitation of materials, which are such as repair and adjustments and cleaning, and then there's the traditional design process, and there's the execution, the construction, and there's marketing, which is a part of it too, because it's important to make this economically viable long term. The purpose is to in a way to anticipate a situation where we have a resource scarcity, or where we have higher prices on building resources. And we are aiming at demonstrating principles for repurposing, and we are aiming at demonstrating principles for reversible construction. That means we are actually trying to assemble these products in order to see how they function. The team is a multidisciplinary team. We have Danish and Swedish and Norwegian partners, and the interesting thing is about it that we have architects and engineers, and we have some of them are educated on PhD levels, actually 4 of them, but we have also industrial designers and a carpenter and a blacksmith, which is a very nice team to work with. We are granted some support. There's not much time left, so I'm jumping this very quickly. Money is boring. And I think it's important to state that the scope is only about building materials from renovation projects. It's not about upcycling or recycling materials from out of the sphere of construction. And I hope you look at the images when I'm presenting, because there's no time to go deeper into each of the components. So remember that architecture is a visual discipline. So repurposing is not the same as reuse. It's used for other purposes than the original. And how do we come to our solutions? Well, we try to let a random component pass through the whole classification system, and then look at the output. Could we use a window for a structural part? Well, perhaps not. Perhaps we could, and so on. And it seems that most building components, they can end up as furniture, if not anything else. That's nice to know. You could always make furniture of this. Of the waste. And we have grouped our experiment into the major material categories, and then we have carried out the experiments, and it's actually quite a job to find demolition sites and to salvage the materials. And at last, after the processing, we have an evaluation. And there's probably not time enough for this, but there's evaluation criteria which is grouped in upstream and downstream according to the LCA lingo, where we add value in the design phase, and we try to diminish the consequences. Now it will not shift anymore. I'm sorry about that, because, yeah, it's really important. We have our own in-house LCA capacity, but this has been done in collaboration with a Norwegian partner. But we map all the processes in flow charts very meticulously. Very meticulously. I can show you here. It's 5 seconds of a drilling machine, high pressure rinsing, 5.5 kilowatt hour, and etc. It's extremely detailed, and then we carry out the LCA evaluation. We compare our products to an alternative, and then we get some results, and most of them are really good, because we get credited for not using new products. Some of them are actually bad, like this concrete brick, which is really sorry, because it's a really nice product, but the energy for cutting it up cannot justify the solution. Another very well-functioning one. If it's wood, it's always good. And now to the commercial evaluation. Well, this is not ready this is not all of this is not ready for the market, but it's because we there's a lack of technology, and technology is a key word here. I think if we should have more volume in this project, we should have a better technology, and that's why we have teamed up with a robo cluster now, and we have visualized some of these technologies that we actually need for doing this, and it's the same with the cleaning technology. We have to have some scanners for checking pollutions, etc. The cultural evaluation is a chapter. I don't think there's time for it now, but we have as a cultural strategy. That we will target first mover segments, and it's mostly, at the present time, it's mostly well-off middle-class women with a bohemian lifestyle, but they are just as good first movers as anybody else. We should remember that when we are smiling, and then we will hype this through exhibitions and publishing, of course, and we will claim that there's a nobleness to wear and tear, and we will learn as architects to cope with these larger tolerances that you need when you are dealing with dimensions which are not so precise as new products, and we will learn, I think, to design with different scenarios, so you can shift strategy while when you get the price, for instance, or if there's not a stable delivery. But the best of it is the architectural part, that you get a lot of new motifs, and you get a lot of material quality which you do not have in new materials. You have there's some nice examples here with the patterns and the hooks and the wedges and everything. Is a new universe in architecture that we'd like to talk about. So I made it. Thank you. That's a pause.